difference, and they're up by 23. Castle to Wemby up top, one-hand slam with a right hand, and a Methodist Healthcare assist between area 51. 28 for Wembanyama, 9 dimes for Steph Castle.
You heard it all on the Spurs radio network. They defeated the Thunder in Game 6 of the Western Conference Finals, 118-91. Wemby ended with 28 points and 10 rebounds.
I think we were consistent and we did what we needed to do. Trusted the game, trusted the basketball gods.
Game 7 will be on Saturday. The Stanley Cup playoffs continue on Friday with Game 5 between the Canadiens and the Hurricanes. The puck is set to drop at 8 Eastern, and Carolina leads the series 3-1. In Major League Baseball, the Cubs outscored the Pirates 7-2, while the Astros defeated the Rangers 5-1.
Live from the heart of SEC country, this is your daily fix of grit, guts, and gridiron glory. Welcome to the Deep South College Football Show.
Owens, here he goes! Georgia retakes the lead!
Breaking down the biggest matchups, the boldest takes, and the deepest rivalries in college football on Tide 100.9 and 12:30 a.m. WTBC.
Intercepted! They confused him! Sabian Brown headed the other way! Touchdown Tide!
From Fayetteville to Gainesville, from the Grove to Toomer's Corner, it's SEC football.
Chambers delivers! Touchdown!
Now, here's your award-winning host, Wyatt Fulton.
And welcome into the Friday edition, a free-for-all Friday edition of the Deep South College Football Show right here on Tide 100.9 and 12:30 a.m. WTBC, your home for Alabama Crimson Tide sports. Great show lined up for you guys today here. We're going to talk with Brett Greenberg of Bama 247 coming up at 1:30. He'll join us via the stream here to help us talk a little bit about Alabama's recruiting weekend as the Crimson Tide have got multiple key prospects on campus. They all arrived yesterday. So every player that we're about to put up with this graphic from 247 here, they all got here yesterday for their official visits for the University of Alabama. So we're going to talk with Brett Greenberg about that here. Going to be a lot of fun here. We're also going to talk SEC schedules. I know we haven't necessarily talked about these yet, but earlier this week, the SEC announced kickoff times and television networks for the first 3 weeks of the college football season, or I guess ABC and ESPN did it, and they're just, they control the SEC broadcast. So we'll talk about those games that we're looking forward to, marquee matchups that we want to watch in a couple of these ball games here. So should be a lot of fun here talking about that today. Hanging out in the Tide 100.9 studio, we got our main man, Chase Brumfield, hanging out with Norris. Gentlemen, how we doing today?
We're doing good. What's up, Wyatt?
Good to hear from you guys. Good to see you guys there. The best producer in the Southeast and one of the best interns in the Southeast hanging out with us today here on the program. Going to be a lot of fun here. Hey, if you're checking us out on YouTube or Facebook or X, we greatly, greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for checking us out here on the stream. Be sure to like, leave a subscribe, leave a comment. If you've got any recruiting questions today, be sure to drop them either on Facebook or YouTube in the chat there, and we will ask Brett your recruiting questions here. Talking about recruiting here at the University of Alabama, don't forget Brett Greenberg will be joining us here at 1:30. This graphic is courtesy of 247 Sports and Brett Greenberg himself. He's the one that kind of posted it here. These are the these are the athletes on campus this weekend for the University of Alabama. 5-star wide receiver Monshin Sales, the big target for Alabama in this recruiting class. He is on campus, not going to be. He is on campus at the University of Alabama. 4-star corner Hayden Stepp, 4-star defensive lineman Mitchell Turner, Alabama commitment 4-star linebacker Kenneth Simon, who is a Tennessee legacy, by the way. His dad played for the Tennessee Volunteers. 4-star wide receiver Osani Gales, 3-star running back Nigel Newkirk, 3-star corner Darius White, 3-star Alabama defensive line commit from the beautiful 251 down in Mobile, Alabama, Avery and Pauly, and 3-star edge rusher Antoine Jackson are all on campus this weekend for the University of Alabama. Now, if you've ever Jackson sitting hanging out with us here now in the studio. Jackson Norris, do you guys play EA college football?
I have the old Xbox, so
okay,
I'm not able to play it, but I play Madden. Very similar.
I do sometimes.
So, okay. So when did you play the old college football, Jackson?
Yes.
Okay. So you know how when you're setting up your recruiting visits, you get complimentary visits, right? So if you've got a quarterback visiting with the left tackle, they complement one another. A quarterback and a receiver, running back and offensive lineman, right? They complement one another. And so what that does is that helps you out in your recruiting pitches, right? Basically, you get extra persuasion on those recruiting visits if you have recruits that are complementing one another. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So Alabama's kind of playing that game a little bit here. You're bringing in several defensive guys together. You've got a couple of corners on campus with Hayden Stepp and Darius White, a couple of defensive linemen and Mitchell Turner, AJ Pauly, Avery and Pauly there, linebacker Kenneth Simon. So on the defensive side of the ball, if you've played college football 26, 27, or even the old NCAA games, those are complimentary visits. That means that they're going to hang out with one another. They're going to be able to see, okay, here, Kenneth Simon will be able to say, look, this is what they're telling me and how they'll use me, but here's how they can use you as well. Those are complementary positions to one another. On the offensive side of the football, normally you want to pair a quarterback and a receiver up together. So with Monson Sales and Asani Gales being on campus, Alabama would have probably liked to get Trent Seaborn, the 4-star quarterback from Thompson, or Elijah Haven, the 5-star quarterback from Dunham High School in Baton Rouge. Probably wanted to get them on campus with these receivers. However, neither Trent Seaborn nor Elijah Haven are on campus this weekend. There's no reason to be concerned. There's no, hey, why aren't they on campus? They are participating in the Elite 11 finals this weekend. So no Trent Seaborn, no Elijah Haven on campus with these 5-star receivers. Osani Gales, I think, is a 5-star on some other recruiting sites, but Monson Sales is a bona fide stud 5-star. Nicknamed Bama growing up, is from the state of Alabama, although plays his high school football elsewhere. But Jackson, these are two key pieces, and we know Kalen DeBoer in Alabama, what they can do at wide receiver, right? We know the history of receiver at Alabama. We know Kalen DeBoer's history at receiver with Rome Odunze, Jalen Polk, Jalen McMillan, Jeremy Bernard, what they've been able to do with Ryan Coleman-Williams and Latsier Brooks here in Tuscaloosa. So looking at these two here, Alabama's got to land one of them, in my opinion. I think you've got to be able to land one of these kids. And after, I'm not going to say that, I'm a tape grinder. I'm not going to say that, I watch tape extensively. There's other people that do that. Clint Lamb is one of them. He does a really good job of it. So I'm not going to moonlight like that's what I do here. But I've seen the highlight tape for both these kids. Jackson, Monson Sales is an absolute monster. Have you seen anything from him?
I've seen a few, on the recruiting Instagram pages. I've seen a few highlights of it. Yeah, he's special.
He's the real deal. And so Alabama's kind of in the mix for Monson Sales. Like we said earlier, nicknamed Bama, grew up an Alabama kid, but is currently battling alongside Indiana, alongside Texas, and some other schools in his recruitment here. Jackson, we mentioned Monson Sales again, and I think a couple of other people may have talked about it. Gary Harris, Ryan Fowler, when he took his official visit to Indiana won the national championship last season, won the Big Ten, won the Rose Bowl, won the Peach Bowl, and won the national championship. And so if you don't know, Indiana opted to get rings for every single postseason game that they won. So that's the Big Ten championship, there's one ring. The Rose Bowl, that's a second one. The Peach Bowl, that's a third one, and a fourth ring for the national championship game. So Indiana was able to get 4 rings last season. And obviously you don't put a ring on your thumb. So they had 4 rings that they were flaunting out there on his official visit. But he had the Rose Bowl ring on the middle finger. And he's a kid nicknamed Bama, competing with Alabama, was visiting Indiana. We know Alabama got smoked in the Rose Bowl by Indiana. Jackson, was that a shot at the University of Alabama?
Did he have the other rings on the other fingers as well?
He had the other rings on the other fingers as well, but that Rose Bowl ring was right there on that middle finger.
Then I don't
kind of
think
zooming in on that shot.
Yeah, I think that's just kind of how he put them on. I don't think he really thought about it like that. And I think, Indiana being Indiana, they spotted it. Good on them. They're creatives for zooming in on that and making it a big deal. But I don't think him, he probably just had him on.
You don't think he did it?
No. He probably just put on, what was it? The Big Ten, then the Rose Bowl.
Yep.
Then the Peach Bowl, then the Natty. I think he just went in order. And then I don't think it was a shot. No.
Okay. Fair enough. Maybe it was Indiana's creatives that decided to do it, right? He's putting the rings on and they go, hey, wait a minute. Your nickname's Bama, right? Throw that Rose Bowl ring on that middle finger. I wouldn't be shocked if they did it just because, Indiana and Alabama have kind of been at each other's throats the last couple of weeks here. Rose Bowl came back up in the conversation. Kurt Signetti took the shot by saying Roll Tide in their meeting at the White House there. So regardless, though, that's the list of players that are going to be visiting the University of Alabama starting, I guess, last night. They all arrived last night. They're all now hanging out in Tuscaloosa for the next couple of days here during their official visit weekend here. So we'll talk with Brett Greenberg, get an update on recruiting, not only for this weekend, but we'll also talk about some guys that are upcoming on the visit schedule here for the University of Alabama. Alabama's currently got 6 commitments in its 2027 recruiting class. We'll start with Oakley Keegan, 3-star tight end. Stephen Thornton out of Cairo, Georgia, 3-star defensive lineman. AJ Pauley, 3-star defensive lineman out of McGill-Tulane High School in Mobile. Trent Seaborn, the 4-star quarterback out of Thompson High School in Alabaster. Just maybe an hour from Tuscaloosa, if even that. 4-star linebacker Kenneth Simon out of Brentwood Academy in Brentwood, Tennessee. And the crown jewel, I guess it would be the crown jewel because he's the highest rated kid in the class right now. No disrespect to anyone else. The number 2 player, the number 1 quarterback in the class, 5-star Elijah Haven from Dunham High School in Dunham, Louisiana. So we'll talk some more recruiting with Brett Greenberg here coming up at 1:30 Central Time. Brett Greenberg, Bama 247, will join us here. Hey, on the other side, let's talk a little bit about scheduling in the SEC. Steve Sarkisian, the head coach at Texas, made some comments that I think got misconstrued a little bit. Texas Tech seems to have taken offense to it. And so we're going to talk about that, but we're also going to talk about the schedules for the first 3 weeks of the college football season as the SEC and ABC have announced where these games are going to be played, when they're going to be played for the first 3 weeks of the season. So we'll talk some marquee matchups that we want to keep an eye on there. You're listening to the Deep South College Football Show right here on Tide 100.9, 1230 AM WTBC, and on the Tide 100.9 Facebook page, my personal X account at @FultonW_, and the Deep South College Football Show YouTube page.
If you're looking for a great way to spend the day on the water, Redline Power Sports rents pontoons on Lake Tuscaloosa by calling 205-737-7425.
Local news when you need it. The Tuscaloosa Thread, powered by Tuscaloosa Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram. Find adventure, power, and performance today at Tuscaloosa Jeep Dodge Ram.
Memorial Day savings are happening at the Home Depot. Get up to an extra $1,000 off select top brand appliances like Frigidaire. Plus, get free delivery. Upgrade your kitchen with a fridge with an extra large ice capacity, a stone-baked pizza oven, or a dishwasher offering an extra fast 50-minute normal wash cycle. Save on appliances this Memorial Day at the Home Depot. Offer valid May 14th through June 3rd. U.S. only. Free delivery on appliance purchases of $998 or more. See store online for details.
Indeed presents hires you can't afford to get wrong, like a hospitality manager at a 5-star hotel.
So I just checked into room 318, but someone was in there.
Room 318. Oh, you were supposed to be booked in 813, which is now booked.
So what do we do?
How about rock, paper, scissors for who gets the bed?
This is the time for sponsored jobs. This is what happens when you don't sponsor your job on Indeed. Next time, get matched with quality candidates with Indeed sponsored jobs. Visit Indeed.com/hire now and sponsor your job today.
Where they do that at? If you're looking for the ultimate experience in electronic bingo, head to Bama Entertainment. We've expanded at our location. Now with 2 buildings, not just one. Come for our mystery wall cash drawing Monday through Thursday, every 30 minutes. On the weekend, live entertainment or DJ. Ticket drawing for the jackpot wheel spins and cash giveaway. Don't forget about our double jackpot payout up to $5,000. Great atmosphere, outstanding customer service. Where they do that at? Bama Entertainment, where the odds are always in your favor. Take exit 45 off 2059, sponsored by Ray.
What does it mean to advertise and do your marketing with Town Square Media Tuscaloosa? Melissa started her business in 2014. What would you say to someone considering Town Square Media Tuscaloosa?
My experience with Town Square Media has been awesome, and I would definitely recommend it to anyone. I think that this is the first time in my marketing experience that I've been able to see my return on investment. I would definitely say in the past that has not been the case. And this, I like knowing that that's 100%. A lot of the marketing we've done has been radio. You guys have so much more to offer than that, whether it's, websites from targeted marketing to radio. You are kind of a one-stop shop, and it makes doing marketing so much easier. So I would definitely recommend it.
For more info on marketing with Town Square Media Tuscaloosa, call 205-345-7200 or click on Advertise with Us on our website.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Here's your Tuscaloosa and West Alabama forecast. Numerous showers and storms expected here this afternoon. 85 our high today. Thunderstorm chances continue tonight. Lows tonight near 70. More of the same tomorrow. 85 and sunshine expected Sunday. 50-50 chance of storms with a high 87. We begin to dry things out on Monday. Sunny skies and upper 80s. Richard Wedding at the Weather Channel for Town Square Media Tuscaloosa.
It's 81 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Tide 100.9. For more coverage of Alabama football, visit us at Tide100.9.com or download the free Tide 100.9 app.
The Crimson Tide will not be denied.
Welcome back into the Deep South College Football Show here on Tide 100.9 and 12:30 a.m. WTBC. Hey, we got regionals going on in college baseball right now. Some of these regionals are rocking and rolling here. We'll start in Atlanta. Georgia Tech. What the hell? Georgia Tech 17-3 over UIC right now. Jackson, was Georgia Tech the number one overall seed? I know they were very high up there, but was Georgia Tech number one overall?
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, Georgia Tech had one of the best seasons in college baseball here, won the ACC tournament as well. 17-3 in the bottom of the fifth inning against UIC. I think we can go ahead and pencil in the Ramblin' Wreck to be in that winner's bracket there. Tennessee and East Carolina in the top of the eighth. They are tied 1-1 there. East Carolina, the visiting team, East Carolina designated as the visiting team in the Chapel Hill Regional. In the Morgantown Regional in West Virginia, Kentucky is up on Wake Forest 5-4 in the bottom of the sixth inning. Liberty and Boston College are tied in Athens in game one of the Athens Regional 2-2. Texas is beating Holy Cross 5-0. In the bottom of the fourth in the Austin Regional. Florida up 2-0 on Ryder in Gainesville. Southern Miss and Little Rock are dead even at 1 in the top of the fifth in Hattiesburg. In Lawrence, Kansas, Kansas is up 4-1 on Northeastern. Mississippi State and Lipscomb just got started in the bottom of the first. It is 0-0. Here in Tuscaloosa, in the Tuscaloosa Regional, South Carolina Upstate is playing Oklahoma State. Alabama will play tonight. First pitch is scheduled for 6 p.m. Central Time. You can listen to it right here on Tide 100.9, or you can check it out on the SEC Network. But in the Tuscaloosa Regional, top of the first inning, South Carolina Upstate is up 2-0 on Oklahoma State. And Jackson, we got to save the best for last here. In the Auburn Regional, bottom of the fourth inning, Milwaukee's up 10-0 on Auburn. Just flat out boat racing Auburn right now. I mean, The mercy rule in baseball is if you're up by 10 through 7 innings, they just call it at that point. Well, bottom of the fourth inning, 1 out, 1 runner on base. Milwaukee is up 10-0 on the Auburn Tigers here. Could we see some trouble brewing in Plainsman Park?
Good.
That's all we're going to say. Good. Auburn down 10-0 to Milwaukee. We'll keep an eye on some of these baseball regionals here as well as things get rocking and rolling throughout the program here. But I want to talk some scheduling here in the world of college football in the SEC here. FB Schedules put this post out here, so we'll use that. We'll credit them on this here. Thursday, September the 3rd, first game of the SEC season. Missouri's taking on Arkansas Pine Bluff. Missouri gets their annual cupcake opener there on the SEC Network. East Carolina at Alabama. Kent State at South Carolina. Youngstown State at Kentucky. Tennessee State at Georgia. Baylor versus Auburn in Atlanta. Texas State at Texas. Furman at Tennessee. North Alabama at Arkansas. Missouri State at Texas A&M. Austin Peay at Vanderbilt. Clemson at LSU. ULM at Mississippi State. And Florida Atlantic at Florida. Jackson, there's 2 games that obviously we cover Alabama, so we want to pay attention to what's going on with the Alabama Crimson Tide. But outside of the obligatory, we have to care about Alabama and East Carolina. There's 2 games on this slate here in week 1 that I'm keeping an eye on. It's Baylor at Auburn, and it's Clemson at LSU. Everything else should just be nasty, nasty victories for these teams.
I agree. I mean, the quote unquote cupcakes week 1, every SEC team that's playing one should start off 1-0. And if you don't, you might have a long season ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't, you got some major issues there. The only one, I mean, even looking at these cupcakes, there's not even a game that I look at and I'm like, all right, I might be a little worried about that. I might be a little worried about this team against this cupcake opponent here. And UTEP at Oklahoma, we don't have a kickoff time for that one yet, but it'll be on the SEC Network Plus there. Baylor and Auburn, though. These two faced off to start the season last year in Waco, Texas. Jackson Arnold ran all over that Baylor defense. They could not stop his legs. And then Jackson Arnold refused to use his legs the entire rest of the season. But Clemson at LSU obviously is the big one. 7:30 on ABC there. Clemson is... There's not a lot to be optimistic about if you're a Clemson Tiger fan. I'm going to be straight up honest with you. Not much to be optimistic about if you are a fan of the Clemson Tigers there. LSU, on the other hand, a ton of optimism. Jackson, does that put more pressure on Clemson or LSU to come out with the victory in week 1 here?
I think it puts the pressure on LSU because, I mean, if you're favored and everybody thinks you should win this game pretty handedly and you don't, what does that say about Kiffin? What does that say about the program he's building?
I worry about that game, though, because I've mentioned it. You've mentioned it with LSU's early season slate that they've got Clemson, Louisiana Tech, Ole Miss, and Texas A&M here. I'm worried about how quickly that offense and that team is going to mesh, especially with Sam Leavitt not being a part of spring practice and maybe some of those summer workouts that they're going to be holding here in June, which starts, by the way, next week here. And then Jordan Seaton, the run game as well. They've brought in some key guys at wide receiver, but I mean, effectively, your skill position group is almost entirely new. Bauer Sharp was one of your tight ends last year from Oklahoma. He's gone. You lose Aaron Anderson, Nick Anderson, and Berrien Brown at wide receiver. You do return Caden Durham and Harlem Berry, but quarterback is the quarterback is that key position, and he's gone now here as well with Garrett Nussmeier and Michael Van Buren leaving the program, and Sam Leavitt from Arizona State stepping in here. In the event that Sam Leavitt can't go, you're starting with Hassan Longstreet. Now, we assume Leavitt will be healthy and ready to go, but Clemson as well, after putting a couple of key guys in the first round of the NFL draft along that offensive line, new offensive lineman, new quarterback for the first time. I mean, this is the first time that Clemson really has been kind of questionable coming into a season, right? Even last year when, they lost the Pinstripe Bowl, I was high on Clemson. A lot of national people were high on Clemson going into last season there with Cade Klubnik as his final season of college football. But new quarterback, not a lot of optimism around that Clemson Tiger program. By the way, Clemson's going to be playing at Cal on a Friday night at 10:30 in like week 4 or something like that. Pac-12 gods, Pac-12 After Dark gods, if you can hear me, please give us one more go around. Give us one more for old time's sake. Just give us the nastiest shootout possible on that Friday night. But no, looking at the matchups here, it's Baylor and Auburn because Dave Aranda, the head coach at Baylor, who formerly was the defensive coordinator at LSU during that 2019 season, he was on a hot seat at the end of last season. They decided to retain him, and now Baylor is going to be put in an interesting position. They've got to go win some big games this season. And if you start 1-0 against Auburn, I think it could be a really good way to launch yourself, or at least maybe stick around for the rest of the season if the back half of the year doesn't go your way. By the way, Baylor, don't forget, added DJ Lagway via the transfer portal. So Lagway's already got the SEC experience. He faced the toughest defense in the SEC last season by playing both Texas and Georgia last year. He's got the experience. Could we see Baylor upset brewing in week 1? I don't know.
It could happen. I mean, well, I guess he never played Auburn in his time starting for Florida, but SEC defense. I mean, he didn't. That's part of the reason why he kind of slipped off was because he wasn't up to snuff against SEC defenses. So we'll see.
They went out last season, though, and they were able to beat Texas, and they were – I know you're kind of a Georgia affiliate here, but, I mean, he was realistically a bad call away from potentially beating Georgia as well in Jacksonville. So we know the talent's there 110% with a guy like DJ Lagway. But can Baylor's offensive coaches, can they unlock that gear that he kind of lacked at points over the last 2 years during his tenure there with the Florida Gators? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Week 1 is what? We're 99 days away from the first week 1 Saturday of college football. We are now I got to do math here. We're 97 days away from the start of SEC football with Missouri taking on Arkansas Pine Bluff on that Thursday night. So we're in the double digits now. We're out of the triple digits when it comes to our countdown towards SEC football. We'll go ahead and take this break here. And on the other side, Brett Greenberg of Bama 247 should be joining us here to help us talk a little bit about Alabama's big recruiting weekend here on Tide 100.9, 1230 AM WTBC, the Deep South College Football Show on the Tide 100.9 Facebook page, our YouTube channel, and the X account at FultonW_. We should hopefully be joined by Brett Greenberg here on the other side of this break.
Catch hourly local news updates from the Tuscaloosa Thread, powered by Tuscaloosa Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram. Lease a new 2026 Chrysler Pacifica Select for $421 a month for 42 months, $39.99 due at signing.
After a wreck, the clock starts immediately. The insurance company is already working, protecting themselves, gathering statements, and looking for a reason to deny your claim. One wrong move, one missed deadline, one thing said too soon, and your case can be damaged or lost forever. You don't need to figure this out alone. You need protection. You need guidance, and you need it now. Call Ms. Reno, 900-9000. That's 900-9000 for a free consultation. No fees unless we win. No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than that of other lawyers.
Coming up on The Game with Ryan Fowler.
Coming up on the Friday edition of The Game, we'll recap Alabama, UCLA. We'll do that with Chris Plank out in Oklahoma. We'll talk to Brent Beard, all on a free-for-all Friday edition of The Game, presented by Brian Hart Construction, starting at 2 p.m. on Tide 100.9, 1230. WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
The longest-running sports talk show in Tuscaloosa. The Game with Ryan Fowler. Weekdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on Tide 100.9 and 1230 a.m. WTBC. And streaming worldwide on the free Tide app.
What does it mean to advertise and do your marketing with Town Square Media Tuscaloosa? Melissa started her business in 2014. What would you say to someone considering Town Square Media Tuscaloosa?
My experience with Town Square Media has been awesome, and I would definitely recommend it to anyone. I think that this is the first time in my marketing experience that I've been able to see my return on investment. I would definitely say in the past that has not been the case. In this, I like knowing that that's 100%. A lot of the marketing we've done has been radio. You guys have so much more to offer than that, whether it's, websites from targeted marketing to radio. You are kind of a one-stop shop, and it makes doing marketing so much easier. So I would definitely recommend it.
For more info on marketing with Town Square Media Tuscaloosa, call 205-345-7200 or click on Advertise with Us on our website.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-923-6829 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-923-6829. That's 800-923-6829. What do you have to lose? Call 800-923-6829. Again, 800-923-6829.
Coming up on The Game with Ryan Fowler.
Coming Coming up on the Friday edition of the game, we'll recap Alabama, UCLA. We'll do that with Chris Plank out in Oklahoma. We'll talk to Brent Beard, all on a free-for-all Friday edition of the game presented by Brian Harden Construction, starting at 2 p.m. on Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
The longest running sports talk show in Tuscaloosa. The Game with Ryan Fowler. Weekdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on Tide 100.9 and 12:30 a.m. WTBC. And streaming worldwide on the free Tide app. A national championship team covering a national championship team. The best sports talk in the state. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Deep South College Football Show. Joining us now, the recruiting expert for Bama 247 Sports, Brett Greenberg. Brett, how you doing, man? Welcome in.
What's up, Wyatt? How you doing, man?
I'm good. Thank you for taking the time to join us today here. I want to get your thoughts on a quick comment Kalen DeBoer made during SEC spring meetings. During some interviews down there, he said, "Hey, we're probably going to take a smaller class here." And you guys have done a great job of covering the recruiting side of things, the transfer portal, everything regarding roster retention and roster acquisition for the University of Alabama here. For those that don't know why, can you explain why Alabama may be looking at a smaller class compared to the last 2 years?
Yeah, I think kind of the big phrase or wording, you kind of used it right there, the retention. You look at what Alabama has been able to do and keeping a lot of their key recruits over the last two cycles in the building, what they feel that they have in the 2026 and 2025 classes. Those are both top 5 groups incoming, guys that have been immediate contributors already, guys that they're very high on in the 2026 class that can potentially contribute on both sides of the ball this season as well. And then you look at kind of the whole roster makeup. There's not a lot of seniors. I can't remember the exact number. I think it's like 9 or 10 that are, going to lose eligibility. Then you've only got probably a handful of guys that could potentially be first-round picks, high-round picks. You're looking at, obviously, Ryan Coleman-Williams is probably going to be a big talking point to see if he has that big enough of a bounce-back season to go on. Yanze Pierre, all signs point to Xavier Brown being a high pick. So there's not that many guys that I think the staff is worried about losing to the NFL draft. Again, you're going to have a handful of seniors. And then you also look at the transfer portal class, which there was 19 guys. Majority of those guys have multiple years of eligibility. So they like their chances to develop them, keep them in the fold as well. And of course, you're going to lose some guys to the transfer portal. It happens every year in every single program. But between the younger roster, the confidence they have in the consecutive top 5 classes, I think that is the reason why you're going to see kind of a smaller class, maybe in that 15 range as far as the summer goes. And then obviously last cycle you saw as well, jumping from the 85 scholarship to 105. You had some kind of late additions in February. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happened as well. You still got a whole senior season to go of evaluations. There's a couple names I'm already hearing that could potentially become top targets down the road. But that's kind of the reason why Alabama is going to have a smaller class. And quite frankly, that's, you're dealing with other programs that are going to be taking in their regular 25 to 30. So does Alabama end up signing another top 5 class? I'm not sure if that's the case, but you have to look at who they're going to bring in. And a lot of these guys that they've prioritized for months, even years, they feel very good about, and I feel very good about as well.
You look at the kids on campus this weekend. Here is this graphics courtesy of your Twitter page. That's where I pulled this picture from. These are the guys that are going to be on campus here this weekend. We'll start with what many consider to be the big fish, Monshan Sales, the big 5-star wide receiver, nicknamed Bama. You guys have done a great job of kind of covering him and his recruitment. But it seems like Alabama may have a little bit of ground to make up here during this first official visit weekend.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right there. And I've talked to some people. I think maybe a month ago, 2 months ago, it felt like it was Alabama and Indiana. They were battling out for the number 1 receiver. As you mentioned, Monshan Sales, Alabama native, grew up with the nickname Bama, has shared multiple times over his Instagram kind of the man cave, I think is one of his, I don't know if it was a grandpa or uncle or something. It's just like, it's a legit Alabama football man cave. So there's obviously a lot of strong ties there, but he's number 1 receiver. Texas got him on campus for spring practice and then line up an official visit. And, there's no really being around the bush there. Texas has some deep pockets. They're going after Monshon Sales very heavily. They've got a 5-star in Easton Royal committed, but a lot of people think he can end up going over to LSU. So the Longhorns have squarely entered the picture. Indiana as well, which is now the home state program and coming off the national championship, and they've got a lot of momentum over there with the Hoosiers. And he took an official visit there and had a great time. I laugh like nobody ever has really a bad time on an official visit. Like, this is the opportunity for staffs to roll out the red carpet and so on and so forth. So again, but I think it is notable that Alabama still gets this official visit, and most of your viewers probably heard this too. Courtney Morgan, the general manager, a couple weeks ago talked about as well. Like, they're not going to bring in guys that they feel like they're way, way, way in a different ballpark money-wise goes. So I think this staff has a little bit of confidence that they can get the momentum, swing the momentum back in favor of the Crimson Tide this weekend. They have a golden opportunity to do so. With that being said, you look at the Texas Longhorns and the money that they're kind of able to throw out. It's more than Alabama. It's more than Alabama's going to want to pay. So, and a lot of these official visits as well are, to be honest, talking money. Like, this is kind of your final offer, so to speak. So Alabama's playing a little bit from behind. Again, I won't be surprised if he comes out and he raves about his visit. Again, he's going to have a great time. The staff's, close with him. Derek Nix has done a good job as well. But Alabama does probably have some ground to make up, like you said.
To ask it, I guess, as bluntly as I can, do you think NIL may be a big determining factor with his recruitment?
Yeah, and I don't I've said it with you, like, if go get your money, like, you deserve it.
100%, yeah.
And I know a lot of people may not like hearing that, but I don't know if it's going to be the single most determining factor in some, like, compared to some other recruits. And that kind of lines up with what Alabama has always said and how Courtney Morgan's always talked about it. They're not going to play ball with a kid that they know money is the single most important thing in their recruitment. With that being said, again, the programs you're dealing with, number one receiver in the country, he's going to command probably around 7 figures. So it's going to be interesting to see what that number ends up being like, and probably won't know those numbers until like the next couple months into the winter.
Brett, have you ever played the new college football games, 26, 27, or 25 and 26? So you when you're setting up your recruiting visits, you want your quarterback to come in with the receiver because it's a complimentary visit. They complement one another, right? So normally you may want to do that in real life recruiting. Granted, I'm not, I'm in media for a reason. I'm not a coach for a reason. But to me, it would make sense if you're bringing in the receiver, let's bring in the quarterback as well. But no Elijah Haven, no Trent Seaborn for Alabama this weekend. They're competing at the Elite 11 finals. Just kind of, how do you think that may play into all the recruitments for both Seaborn, Haven, and some of these receivers as well?
Yeah, I think it's a good point. Like, obviously, these receivers and pass catchers, looking at tight ends as well, like, they get excited about, a good quarterback coming in the fold. I don't know if it is as important or plays as big a factor as it once did, just with the transfer portal. And, like, for example, if Monshon Sales comes because of Elijah Haven, Monshon Sales is probably getting on the field before Elijah Haven does, or Trent Seaborn. So I don't know if it plays as much of a role. Would you like to have them on campus? Absolutely. But it's kind of a recruiting pitch in itself. Say, hey, where's Elijah? Where's Trent? Oh, they're out in the Elite 11, both representing the Crimson Tide. So those guys, I've talked with both of them this week heading into their trips to Los Angeles. They're going to be on campus both next week. Trent Seaborn on official visit, Elijah Haven his official visit. Trent Seaborn's official visit will be June 12th through the 14th. They'll also be back on the 19th to 21st. And I was talking with Elijah specifically just about how the recruiting, how has he kind of joined the recruiting staff, if you will. And everybody who's followed Trent Seaborn knows ever since his October commitment, he's been on campus, I think probably 10 times, was on campus 5 times in the spring. He's not shy about trying to get kids into the fold, both on Twitter and reaching out over text as well. And Elijah was telling me that him, Trent, and some of the coaches and recruiting staff kind of have a group message of specific guys they're trying to go after. So they're kind of taking a methodical approach, and they're going after specific guys. Of course, you want high numbers, but again, that's not the case. Like we talked about, they're trying to get Elijah Haven and Trent Seaborn to work on some of their top names to know. And it was interesting. I was talking with Elijah about it, just kind of revisiting his commitment, which again felt like a very, very long time. And obviously that came down in April. But it was interesting. No other schools are really talking to him. I kind of joked with him, like, is there a little bit of negative recruiting going on from other programs like, hey, Trent's in the fold. Look at that quarterback room. Like, you can come here and start right away, or so on and so forth. He said he hasn't heard from any other schools could potentially be back down after official visits for those next 2 weekends as well. So I think that's very, very encouraging. And this should be an exciting weekend for those two. And wouldn't be surprised if those two turn some heads out there in LA at the Elite 11.
Monson Sales may be the number 1 receiver in the class, but you got another top 10 receiver in the class in Osani Gales on campus this weekend. Where do things stand with him?
Yeah, I think, after making some calls over the last couple of days, I think Alabama's in a better position than I once believed. I think the SEC factor, him wanting to play, I think in the SEC is playing a big role in the Crimson Tide's good position. Tennessee's involved, Notre Dame's involved, Washington's involved, and he plays at IMG Academy, but is originally from California. So Washington and one other program I don't have on the top of my head is also in the picture. But Alabama, I believe, is in a very, very good spot. This is his 3rd trip down this year. Took an unofficial visit in January, kind of very under the radar, and got to meet Derek Nix. Had that offer in the fall, but obviously that was Jamarcus Shepard, who's off to Oregon State. But has quickly established a very, very strong relationship with Derek Nix, the rest of the staff. I do think official visits are going to play a very, very big role in this recruitment. I say that because some other guys that are taking these summer trips kind of have a real kind of idea of who might be leading. I think Osani's one of those guys that's really trying to see where he fits in each of these offenses. Has a June 27th commitment date, but I think Alabama has a chance to really, really solidify themselves as one of the top teams or potentially the top team in his recruitment coming out of the weekend.
You've got 2 commits currently on campus that with Kenneth Simon and Avery and Pauly here as well. Just how big is it to keep those, or not necessarily keep those commitments, but get those guys on campus with other guys that you are recruiting, right? So Kenneth Simon, and Avery and Pauly, they're going to be recruiting Mitchell Turner and all these guys and saying, look, I love Alabama. This is what I love about Alabama. So kind of that double up factor, basically. They're not only hearing it from the coaching staff and the current players, but they're hearing it from their peers as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very good point. I've said it probably, I don't even know how many times since, joining the Bama 247, like getting your commits on campus as much as possible is absolutely massive. You looked at last cycle, like these kids committed in the summer and then we're in Tuscaloosa together every single week. Like there was almost like, you're not visiting anywhere else. We're going to Alabama together. So in this case specifically, Kenneth Simon, again, coming off that big recruiting win earlier this month over Tennessee. Obviously, he's a Volunteers legacy over Georgia as well. So some high-profile programs that Alabama beat out, and he was always part of the plan dating back to my conversation with him at the Navy All-American Bowl. He was going to take one official visit. It was going to be the school he committed to. So that's very, very encouraging. Now, is Tennessee going to let up? Probably not, but he is dead set on playing in the Crimson Tide. He's like you said, is taking his official visit this weekend and plans to be back on campus multiple times throughout the summer over the next 3 big official visit weekend. So very, very crucial to get him back on campus for the first time since committing. And he's very comfortable. And like you said, he can be in the ears of all those guys, a Darius White, a Mitchell Turner, and so on and so forth. He can also further his relationships with the current roster. That was a big reason for his ultimate commitment. He kind of oohed and awed about the potential of pairing up with Xavier Griffin. And you talk to some of these 247 national analysts and like having those two on the field at the same time. Then you look at a Jordan Emmons and a Jair Edwards and some of the defensive linemen, Nolan Wilson, London Simmons. It's like what they're building is they're very confident. It goes back to kind of that smaller recruiting class. AJ Pauly, like you mentioned, the Mobile kid, committed during A-Day on the spot with Kalen DeBoer, which was a pretty cool moment. Now it's interesting. He does still have a Florida State official visit lined up for next weekend. Alabama, lets those guys go and take visits elsewhere. Do I think that visit takes place? I'm not so sure. I think the staff probably not like you can't go. I think he probably ends up having a good enough time back on campus around the staff, around his future teammates, around guys on the current roster as well to potentially shut things down. So all in all, it's an unbelievable advantage to have your commitments on campus. And not only that, be so locked in and be really concerned about adding more guys into the fold.
We're talking with Brett Greenberg of Bama 247 here. Brett, I got a couple more questions for you here. You mentioned Derek Nix, the new wide receivers coach, when talking about Osani Gales. How have those new coaches been on the recruiting trail? New offensive line coach Adrian Clem, receivers coach Derek Nix, and tight ends coach Richard Owens.
Yeah, I think they've done a good job, and I know they've been hired in January and February, but that's still new. You're still building those relationships. It kind of goes back to the 2025 cycle. Like, why aren't Alabama getting any in-state kids? Why are they getting so many West Coast kids? Because you had those relationships. Kalen DeBoer had those guys, and quite frankly, Xavier Brown was there before, but a Dijon Lee, he's from out west. He's been pretty good for Alabama. He's going to be pretty good for Alabama. Caleb Edwards, he's pretty good for Alabama as well. So it's all about establishing those relationships. I think you're going to learn a lot more going into that 28 cycle, 29 cycle as well. But as far as Derek Nix goes, he's nothing but rave reviews. Talking to Oakley Keegan, the tight end commit, he absolutely loves Richard Owens. And I'll tell you, Richard Owens kind of one of those old school type of coaches. I think I think you've seen it kind of watching the practice clips, and he seems to be kind of a hard ass in a good way. And obviously he was offensive line coach as well, so I think that helps out with just the whole blocking as a whole, because it's obviously a big talking point from last season and will be into this season as well. And Adrian Clem has been outstanding. He brings so much experience, and kind of talking with some of the parents of the current guys on the roster, they absolutely love him. Kind of that new energy, doesn't yell much, but has that kind of tone about him that relates to these players. And he's squarely in the picture for an Antonio Barry. He's squarely in the picture for Ismail Kamara, who oddly enough is not taking any official visits this summer, is going to do those all in the fall. But Alabama's in the picture for him as well, who's a 6'6", 340-pound just freak out of Gilmer, Texas. And again, you talk about a small class. The offensive line class is going to be extremely, extremely small. And I know some people may say, but if you look at it, there isn't any guys, and correct me if I'm wrong, that are going to be going to the draft this after this season. And then you bring in 6 through the transfer portal and 5 through the high school ranks. So it's 11 new guys. Michael Carroll, you presume back. Jackson Lloyd is, presumed back. Rayson Bogotti's got multiple years of experience. Ethan Fields has multiple years of experience. Nick Brooks as well. So, and just kind of look at that current roster and what the room looks like. Could there be some guys that go elsewhere? Sure. Adrian Clem could also bring some guys in well. It's an interesting position overall just because of the timing of the hiring. That Kalen DeBoer, obviously parts ways with Coach Cap, but he kind of brought in all those guys. So it's not necessarily all of Adrian Clem's guys. So that it's going to be one to follow for sure.
Antoine Jackson listed as a 3-star edge rusher here. I really like from what it seems, it seems like he's, kind of feeling Alabama. I think he posted the picture of the new graphics and stuff like that from his hotel room. Just where do things stand with Antoine Jackson?
Yeah, another guy that they feel like Alabama feels like they're in a good position for, and I feel the same. It's just, you talk with him over the last couple of months. Outside linebackers Christian Robinson, who's been outstanding on the recruiting trail since joining the Crimson Tide, was a major reason Justin Hill came into the fold, major reason Xavier Griffin came into the fold, and wouldn't be surprised if Antoine Jackson ends up in this class as well. Now you're dealing with some other heavy hitters, specifically in the SEC. Tennessee got him on campus for an official visit last weekend. That things went really well there. He's going to return to Knoxville at the end of the summer. He's got Ole Miss involved and Missouri as well. But him consistently naming the Crimson Tide a top school in his recruitment over the last couple of months, to me, it's hard not seeing him eventually ending up in the class. Have a crystal ball submitted in favor of him back in March. And quite frankly, he's at the top or near among the very top of guys that I could see potentially having an announcement as soon as this weekend.
Last 2 questions for you here. Brett, with the transfer portal and with NIL and everything like that, a lot of fans have kind of been turned off by recruiting, but y'all are still kind of in the fold, or not kind of, y'all are in the fold. Y'all are talking to these recruits here. Just kind of what's been the vibe shift in recruiting from your perspective with NIL and the transfer portal and the consistently changing landscape of the sport?
Yeah, I think it's, a program by program basis. I think some schools are completely going to the transfer portal. Indiana did that. Indiana continued to do that. A couple other schools as well. But I kind of said it over and over, like these high profile programs, the ones that have won for a very long time, aren't really switching things up. I'm talking about Alabama. I'm talking about Ohio State. I'm talking about Georgia. Georgia is kind of in a similar boat of Alabama, like Kirby Smart is not entertaining a guy who's all about money. Like, it's just not happening. I know some Georgia fans, I'm close with a lot of down in Atlanta. I'm close with a lot of guys that root on for the Bulldogs. They're the same way. They're like, why aren't we paying this guy? Why aren't we paying this guy? Like, Kirby Smart's just not doing that. It is just kind of interesting to see, like, the stacking of talent just isn't there anymore. And I say that kind of, maybe it's a little hypocritical. You look at this Alabama quarterback room, but it's just a case by case. And I think Alabama, yes, will it be a smaller class this cycle, but I think they get back to their 25 to 30 or, mid 20s in the 28 and 29 class as well.
Last question for you here, Brett. I ask it every time we have you on. Who's the next guy that you think could potentially be ready to pull the trigger for Alabama?
Yeah, I'll give you 4 if that's okay.
Oh, heck yeah, dude. I love that.
And it's really 4 that I'm looking at that are all on campus this weekend. I mentioned Antoine Jackson, talked about him a bunch, and then you're looking at two Peach State guys. Nigel Newkirk out of Gainesville High School has got the, obviously, relationships with Xavier Griffin and Jamarian Matthews. Now he's got a set commitment date for July 1st, but I think Alabama is in a very good spot there. If they push for a commitment, they could get one as soon as this weekend. LSU is a factor as well, set to take his official visit next weekend. Got some family in the state of Louisiana. His mom's from the state of Louisiana, so it feels like a Tigers Crimson Tide battle there. Darius White, 6'3", cornerback, kind of fits that, you must be this tall to enter.
Yeah.
Maurice Langwitz. I always say it like, and maybe it's a bad joke. So tell me, it's like, reminds me of like a, like the roller coaster ride. Like, you must be this tall to get on.
Yes.
Like you must be this tall to walk into Maurice Langwitz cornerback.
You must be
room.
at least 6'2" to even consider playing DB for Maurice Langwitz.
Right. And 6'3", 6'4" is encouraged, strongly encouraged.
Yes.
6'1" prohibited. But Alabama, Maurice Langwitz has prioritized Darius White, who, is a 3-star, has a potential to get into that 4-star range. I think he will by the end of it. This cycle has prioritized him as much as any other cornerback in the class. You got Hayden Stepp on campus as well, who's 6'3.5", who Alabama's in a good spot for as well, battling out with Oregon. But Darius White out of the Peach State, I feel like Alabama's in a very, very good spot. I would probably put him and Antoine Jackson as 1A, 1B as potential on-campus commitments this weekend. And then another one for you, which I think probably will make some Alabama fans excited, is number 3 defensive lineman Mitchell Turner out of the state of Louisville, Mississippi. And it's similar to the last 2 cycles, what Freddie Roach has been able to do. Very early in the recruitment of London Simmons in 2025, very early into the recruitment to Nolan Wilson. I believe it was the first offer for Nolan Wilson in 26. Both those guys, Mississippi defensive lineman, in the fold. Mitchell Turner got an offer from Freddie Roach back in December. He was an unranked recruit. Now he's the number 3 cornerback, number 3 defensive lineman, top 50 overall prospect. And he continues to bring that up. That early love, that early evaluation is going a long, long way for Turner. And he told me leading up to the official visit, like I said, hey, who's kind of your number 1 school? And he said it's Alabama. And he joked. He's like, I'm like, what else do you need to see? What else do you need to be told? And he's like, I don't need to see anything. I don't need to be told anything. I love campus. I love Tuscaloosa. I love the facility. I love the defensive fit. So you talk about kind of the plus of having a Kenneth Simon and AJ Pauly on campus to help recruit. They're going to help recruit him as well. But you've also got, like I mentioned, Nolan Wilson and London Simmons to help that out as well. So I'm really tracking Mitchell Turner, the big-time interior defensive lineman as well.
Brett Greenberg, we appreciate you for joining us, man. Let everybody know where they can follow you and all your incredible recruiting content. I don't know how you keep up with everything that you do, but it's impressive.
Well, I appreciate you, Wyatt. You know that, and you do a heck of a job as well. I love following your stuff. But over at Bama 247, pretty much everything I said and much more in depth can be found over there. We've got a May 29th through 31st official visit hub, which is the full list, what I'm hearing, what they're doing over the weekend, social posts and things like that. We'll carry that on throughout the summer, a full list of all 4 weekends as well as over there. And at Brett Greenberg _ on Twitter, you can find out everything else.
Brett, I got a feeling we'll be talking to you a lot this summer here for the University of Alabama. I appreciate you, brother.
Absolutely. Hit me up whenever. You guys have a good weekend.
You as well. That's Brett Greenberg of Bama 247 joining us here. We'll come back and wrap up the loose ends. Kept Brett a little too long in that segment, but he's always great with his time here. You're listening to the Deep South College Football Show right here on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC, your home for, well, actually, Jackson, this is bad radio, but we only got like 2 minutes left here, so let's just keep it here, and then I'll get out a little early and make way for the game with Ryan Fowler here. We'll go ahead and Jackson. I thought Brett did a really good job talking a little bit of recruiting here for the University of Alabama, and I get the frustration with fans and with people saying, well, we need to go pay this guy. Monson Sales is a guy that we probably do need to go pay for. The fan perception there, but at the same time, you almost want quality over, or you want quantity, good quantity players versus, one superstar athlete, one superstar player that you're probably going to have to pony up a little bit of extra money every single year to keep them on campus. And if you can't pony up that money, then they're gone, but you spent all your money on that player. And so now you don't have a really deep receiver room behind a guy like Monson Sales. And Alabama may still end up with a guy like Sales, but at the same time, Alabama may still end up with him. But in the event that, you're shelling out a lot of money for a player like that, you do still want a really deep, really talented receiver room behind him, whether it be he decides to leave, he decides to transfer, or, injuries happen. You play a physical sport. You play a really tough sport in football. So in the event that he gets hurt or decides to leave Alabama, you want somebody behind him that can step up and make those plays as well here, Jackson.
Absolutely. And I mean, Brett even brought it up when he was talking about other programs, especially at Georgia. If Kirby Smart's not doing it, why should we do it? Like, the best way to build your roster is not paying for a guy who's like, give me the money. If you guys pay me, I'll come. But once that portal opens up, I'm going to be asking for more money, and another school might give me, $100K more, maybe even $10K more, and I'll go over there instead. So it's like, it doesn't make sense. You want guys that want to live, eat, sleep, and die football, but also your coaches and your program.
I think that's a good way to end the show right there here. Bama's been burned a couple of times. 4th and 31. Your name being written in crimson flame wasn't enough. Apparently. But that'll do it for us today here on the program. Coming up next, the game with Ryan Fowler from 2 until 5:45. And at 5:45, Alabama baseball is set to take on Alabama State. I don't know why the team just blanked, but Alabama baseball will take on Alabama State in the Tuscaloosa Regional on Tide 100.9 and 12:30 a.m. WTBC. That'll do it for us today here on the stream as well. Big thanks to Jackson for helping us out there in the studio. Big thanks to Brett Greenberg. Again, you can follow him on Bama247, Brett Greenberg on the X account there. We'll be back here on Monday getting you ready for the month of June. We're diving into all the teams in the SEC. We'll start that conversation here in the next couple of weeks here on the Deep South College Football Show. But until then, everybody stay safe. Have a great weekend.